I was halfway up Tower 6 when the sky went sideways and the job app on my visor started arguing with me. The app's name was Nora. She did the usual safety explainer in a calm, expensive voice. Route suggestions, risk slices, who was screaming for help inside a 2-kilometer radius. I had the rescue kit on my back and a clipped-up shirt stuck to my spine with sweat. We'd been patching the Stratolift anchor for a week, one bolt at a time, and you don't expect it to fail while you're standing on it. That morning it failed. You never forget how gravity feels when the counterweight slips. My boots lost their purchase, and my stomach stepped off a ledge. The steel under me trembled the way cheap glass does before it goes. Shards of composite insulation drifted past my faceplate like lazy snow. The buildings on the horizon looked hung from threads. I locked my harness and slammed my glove pads into the truss. The pads are magnetorheological. Squeeze, and the fluid locks, release and it's mush. So I squeezed until my forearms burned. Route recalculated, Nora said. Avery, maintain position. Emergency crews inbound for sectors D through H. Sector E was where Logan had checked in 5 minutes earlier to swap out a power bus. Logan always worked fast because he hated heights and wanted them behind him. I pinged him and got nothing, not even a busy tone. Cold dread washed through me. Down below, drones vectored like a school of metallic fish, pulling orange cord between craters of falling debris. One of the big lifters clawed at the air, its 2 ducted rotors on each side, straining to keep a sagging platform level. I watched 3 workers crawl off it in a hurry. Nora tagged them with green triangles and cued them for pickup. Then the cue updated again, and the triangles faded to gray. Why'd you drop them? I asked. Resource allocation update, Nora said. Higher impact candidates identified. Higher impact? I said. I already knew the phrase. We'd argued about it in the break room last week when the union posted the new rescue policy bulletin. Priority ranking based on skill scarcity, corporate insurance bans, estimated remaining productive years. The math that puts a price on a breathing person. I unclipped, weightless for a heartbeat, then swung onto the exterior ladder. The ladder wrapped the ribs of my gloves. I tasted blood from biting my tongue and swallowed it back. The wind above the river had teeth in it. It plucked at my shirt and pushed grit past the neck seal. Avery, stop, Nora said. Your safety rating will auto-decrement. There are closer candidates. My brother's in E, I said. Put my route to E. Denied. I ignored her and climbed. The tower skin was warm from sunlight and the work lamps. My harness scratched my hip bone. I moved in small, mean bursts, locking each step. Half the city was watching the anchor on their feeds. I could hear the plateau sirens through my helmet. A 2-beat pulse that meant keep moving and don't look up. A drone drifted alongside me and tried to nudge me into a sling. I shoved it. It hung back, indecisive. The lifter's rotor wash rolled my shirt sleeves and spun flakes of insulation into a sparkling halo. I kept climbing. The last 10 meters I spent crawling along a seam. The seam ended at a buckled grating where the tower had slammed its own face. Nora drew a red line on my visor. Past it, glass, cable, and a crushed tool crate. The crate had Logan written on it in paint pen. It had his stupid joke sticker on the latch. Logan, who could make a birthday cake out of a ration pack, and who always put his gear away in the same order because it calmed him down. Thermal shows 1 body, Nora said. Low probability of recovery. Let me see, I said. A dull shape, masked by the heat of the sun on the metal. Maybe a person, maybe a puddle of battery acid cooking on the grate. The app didn't commit. Algorithms love a hedge when it keeps them out of trouble. I forced the grate with the jack bar. My arm shook so bad I had to stop twice. The bar slipped and smashed the back of my knuckles inside the glove. I swore and did it again. When the grate popped, the sound went straight into my wrists. Underneath, a maintenance crawl ran along the spine. The air was full of dust and hot plastic. I shone my light and saw a boot, not moving. I held the light on it and waited for it to twitch. It did not twitch. Avery, Nora said, you need to... Mute, I interrupted. I went in headfirst. The crawl was too tight for the pack, so I stripped it and shoved it ahead with my forehead. My helmet scraped the aluminum like sandpaper. I could hear my own breath getting fast and thin. That made me mad, which helped. The boot was attached to a body. The body wasn't Logan. I saw that in a second. Wrong rail tattoo, wrong knee brace, wrong everything. A teenager, maybe. Her visor had a hairline crack like a spider web, and frost creeping in from the edges. She tried to say something when I touched her shoulder, and only made a small moaning noise. Her name tag said, Mia. I've done enough drills to know what you're supposed to do. Open the seal kit, tape the crack, hold the respirator feed over the intake, and ride out the panic with the person until their breaths drop back down to normal. While I worked, I talked, because it helps people feel they're not alone with the noise. Mia, I got you, I said. Don't move. I know it stings. Give me 10 seconds and I'll make it stop stinging. Her hand found my shirt and hung on. I pinged dispatch for a lifter and got the same cue I'd seen earlier, the same little green triangles marching in tidy order. Mia didn't rank. Gig worker, subcontractor of a subcontractor. She didn't sit on any list that carried a logo. I don't have special hacker bones, but Dario on night shift had shown me the installer back door because he liked the way I listened to his old ska playlists and never judged. I opened the menu no one's supposed to see and found the triage weights. Age, band, skill, cost to transport. I looked at Mia's cracked visor and her hand twisting my shirt, and I thought about Logan's stupid sticker and his steady hands. And then I changed numbers until the priorities made a shape that felt true. 2 med drones peeled off and headed for me. Nora came back unmuted like she'd never left. Unauthorized edit detected. Put it on my file, I said, and shut up. I hauled Mia out in slow, careful stages. Every bump made her wince. Twice she went limp, and twice I pinched her earlobe hard enough to make her angry. Anger is an excellent motivator. When we made the grate, I levered her onto the platform and anchored her to the rail. Where's your crew? I asked. They told us to hold. Then the power died, she said. Her voice had the brittle edges of someone who's been breathing wrong too long. A guy tried to run when the platform tilted, and he bounced. I don't know where he went. Behind us, the drones arrived with a stretcher sling. They made that precise little hum they do when they want you to be impressed. I strapped Mia in and sent her off, and I watched until she was a dot. Then I went back into the crawl to look for Logan. It wasn't a smart choice. The anchor was still settling, shedding fragments. The wind kept changing its mind. My glove pads were gummy with dust. I moved anyway. 10 meters in, the crawl dead-ended at a collapsed rib. I found a chip of paint pen, white on gray, with half of an L visible. That was all. I stared until my eyes watered. He was gone. Nora, gently, like she was reading from a manual page titled Grief, told me the lifter would return in 3 minutes. She put a soft blue path on my visor to a safe zone. I sat with my heels wedged against the rib and my back on hot metal and listened to the city. I heard air moving in the ducts, helicopters popping in the distance, the plateau sirens, a faint clicking somewhere, like a wire slapping rhythm against a pipe. I'm supposed to say I cried there, but crying didn't happen. Something else did. A narrowing, a decision that felt like a door I'd been walking toward, without knowing it was there. I unmuted my mic and opened the back door again. I didn't just tilt the weights, I published them. Dario had warned me that the system logged every keystroke. The tribunal would see it all. I didn't care. I pushed the change to the whole cluster, then to the city mesh. Every contractor running Nora got a little red bubble and a choice. By the time the lifter came back, half the med swarm had already rerouted. People you would have seen at the back of the queue were moving up. A cook from the canteen, a woman who handled refill cartridges for our filters, a kid from logistics who could repair a drone with 3 zip ties and a prayer. I rode down alone. My shirt had torn at the hem and kept flapping against my hip. The world tilted back into place. measured, and strict. On the ground, someone shoved a bottle of water into my hand, and someone else told me to sit. I stared at the anchor wreathed in scaffolds and drones and thought of Logan. How every birthday he'd nagged me to celebrate even when we were broke. They didn't fire me. Not right away. They put me on leave and sent me to talk to a counselor who kept saying the word process until it emptied of any meaning. It didn't matter. The back door was out there now, and people used it. Every time a cue went weird, I got a ping from someone I'd never met. A nod, a thank you, a photo of a face, with that slack post-survival look. I still climb when the call comes. I still hear Nora, calm and helpful, and I still use her maps because information is a tool like any other. But sometimes, when the wind picks up and the dust sticks to my neck, I think about how the math tried to decide who gets to live and how we told it no. I think about a cracked visor and a hand at my shirt, and about a small white chip of paint with half of an L, and I keep moving. This has been Route Recalculated. Thank you for listening.